But let's get started today with the Tax Commissioner of Richmond County, Georgia, now serving his third term as your Tax Commissioner, Stephen Kendrick. Mr. Kendrick, I appreciate so much you taking the time to be here on the Means Report, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is the gentleman who, in case you don't know, collects fees, whether it be from your home, your car, your animals, your garbage, and gives all of that money to the government and to the schools so that everything can run as it is supposed to. Do you like the job? I guess third term says you do, but do you enjoy what you do? And are people pretty nice to you?
You know, Brad, I really love my job. It's interesting. I was with a friend this morning at breakfast, and he mentioned what I like to do, and I told him I really like what I do. It gives me an opportunity to continue to serve the community. You mentioned do people like me. I guess it depends on what time of year it is.
Sure.
This time of year when the bills come out, they're not as endeared to me, but at the same time, I think we found some opportunities to do things better. And it's allowed me to grow as well. You know, I've been Augusta my whole life. I'm 50 years old and started this when I was 40. And over the last 10 years, the citizens have allowed me to try to improve an office and improve myself, and I think we've done a good job for both.
Let's talk about those upcoming tax bills. People sometimes wonder how their home's value is determined and why their bills are what they are. How do y'all figure out how much a property is worth and how much to tax?
Well, there's a three-pronged system to taxes. There is valuation, as you just mentioned. Those values come from the tax assessor's office or the appraiser's office, and that department is run by a board and a chief appraiser. There's also then the governing authorities, which in this instance is the City of Augusta, the school board, and the state, who assess a millage rate. They provide a millage rate. And then there's the tax commissioner's office, who takes both the value from the assessor and the millage rate. We use our fancy computers and technology, put those two together, and we come out with a bill. And the tax commissioner is just responsible for the billing and collection and accounting for those monies.
I don't mean to get overly specific, but if my neighbor's house sells for a certain amount, is it likely that my tax bill in the next year or so will reflect what his sold for?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into evaluation. Certainly, if your neighbor's house sold and other neighbors sold for higher than what would be market value, then that sets a new market value. And based upon market value, then your tax bill could go up over time because the market value of your home would increase as well. Typically, those things happen much more slowly. They're affected by lots of things. You know, if you live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of commercial growth going on around and you live in a desirable area, then chances are the value of your home will go up and thus your tax bill will go up because the market says that you could get more for that home if you sold it than you could have otherwise before.
Recently in the headlines, we've seen Richmond County's commissioners, talking about streetlight fees. The streetlight fee fund is about $1 million short, and so there was talk about raising those fees. This broadcast is going to air on Monday. The commission's going to meet on Tuesday. Mr. Kendrick, I thought that we were not going to see a streetlight fee increase on our upcoming tax bills because they ran out of time. It looks like commissioners could still choose to approve an increase, and it would make it on the bill. Is that true?
We could. Statutorily, I have a requirement to get those bills out by a certain date. We have not met that date yet. What we typically try to do is get bills out to taxpayers a little early so they can have longer to pay. This may not allow us to do that, but by giving the commission a little more time to find the right number, we will allow both for us to get it out as we're supposed to and them to collect the monies they need.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, interestingly enough, we are preparing right now to mail the bills out. We've gotten the file from the city to build the streetlights as they were last year. So currently we are in the process of testing and producing that bill. But on Tuesday, if we're not so far along where I could not change those numbers, then we'll adjust and change those numbers. There's an opportunity.
What do you hear from taxpayers, if anything, about streetlights? And I know it's not your deal,
sure,
but are they complaining or are they concerned?
Well, you know, it differs from person to person, you know, and very informally, You sometimes hear from some people that this isn't such a big deal, it's $87, but then there's a group of taxpayers who don't pay any street lights, and there are folks on fixed incomes, and I see those folks every day who struggle just to pay the tax bill as it is right now. And so while some of us who live in this community may not think $87 is such a big deal, there are some people who think $87 additional dollars would be troublesome for them. And so I've heard the gamut. But the commissioners are doing a deliberative process, a legislative process that allows them to figure out what they think they can best do to represent their constituency. For me, personally, I could pay the $87,
sure.
But I respect those who are having to consider whether others can afford to do so.
You have transformed the tax commissioner's office, and that's not me trying to butter Mr. Kendrick up. It's true. You're talking about allowing people to pay with credit cards. You're talking about having Saturday hours if you need to deal with things, especially with your vehicle fees. You have enhanced the website and made it much more user-friendly. What made you decide to do that, to really just kind of be this place that you need not be intimidated or fearful of, but that's super easy to access?
Well, oftentimes when you say the name tax commissioner, people get a bad feeling about going in and doing those transactions. So one of the things we tried to do was instill in our people that this didn't have to be a place that people didn't enjoy coming. Certainly we know we're taking money from people each and every time they come in. That's the nature of what we do. But we at least could make it pleasant, make it efficient, make it to where at least we were neutral. And so over time, enhancing the technology to allow people to pay from anywhere. We have a kiosk in our lobby now, so you can go in now and you don't have to go to a counter to meet anybody. You can go to a kiosk and pay. Those type of things I think people are looking for government. They're paying taxes. They want to see the fruits of those taxes. And so what we try to do is put that there in front of them each and every day, and it seems to have worked out.
What's a tax levy sale? I was on your website last night and I saw that properties are going to be for sale. There's one coming up September 4th. What is that?
So when someone is delinquent and they haven't paid their taxes and we've exhausted all the other things we can do in order to get them to pay, the last thing that the government gives us as an authority to collect is to sell that home to collect those taxes. So each and every month, well, about 10 months out of the 12, we have a sale on the first Tuesday of the month where we actually go out and we post the property, allowing the owner to know that we've targeted this home for sale, and we call it in an auction on the first Tuesday of the month, and that's what will go on September 4th.
You know what I was surprised to see is some of these delinquencies, maybe $1,000, $1,300, and people are going to lose their home over not paying $1,000.
We oftentimes have folks who have those issues, but sometimes we find that those are often heir issues, meaning the parents have died, there are a couple of kids who own it together, they can't figure out who wants to pay, and so no one pays. Or someone has forgotten that it was their responsibility, or sometimes you have health issues, or frankly, sometimes people just can't pay. They've run into issues. Most of the people who communicate with our office and let us know what's going on with them, we try to find a way to establish a route for them to pay their taxes so they don't have to lose their home. And most of the time those homes don't get sold. But the very last few are the ones in which we couldn't find them, they wouldn't call us back, they wouldn't communicate, and we have a responsibility to taxpayers to make sure we collect those, and so we sell the home to do that.
Kind of a general question here. What's a common complaint? Not necessarily complaint. What's a common concern that you get from taxpayers? What do most people come to you about?
Well, nowadays, in our 10th year, most of the complaints come about people saying I'm paying too much, which often does. But
sure,
it's interesting. We'll get calls from folks who'll say, you've raised my taxes again this year, and what you'll find is their taxes really didn't get raised. The perception, they just feel like something happened.
You feel like it, yeah.
It just feels that. So we'll go in and we'll see the bills, and we'll look at all the bills, and we'll say, well, actually, your taxes didn't go up. But most of the time, the complaints are about that. A long time ago, there was complaints about service. We've chosen and tried to fix those, and we have. A lot of times, they complain about government in general. That's why we try to become a beacon for government to show how government could work when run appropriately. So we try to smile at the folks who are coming in to pay. We try to be responsive to their needs. And we just do things. I have a family who lives in this community.
That's right.
I grew up. I went to West Side proudly. And I've got those very same neighbors I went to school with and grew up next door to me who still will call my phone and say, hey, Stephen Kendrick, I know you're 50, but I need you to get this in line. And
Yeah.
so I feel a responsibility to the community in which I grew up in, and I will continue to do that.
Well, I want to say two things. We have about 45 seconds. You're right. The folks who work for the tax commissioner's office, every single one of them I've ever encountered, is incredibly helpful and incredibly nice. So thank you folks for what you do. And your involvement in the community, just like your dad's and your family's involvement, is second to none. You love this place.
I do. And I love kids. And as you well know, Youth Leadership Augusta is a big project of mine. I have another group called Project Impact. I'm 50. I've got more years behind me than I probably have in front of me, so I've got to give back, and I'm trying as quick as I can to do as much as I can.
Well, you set a wonderful example, and I appreciate what you do as our tax commissioner in Augusta, Stephen Kendrick.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.